No, that's the only one that they removed. From what I can tell, I've not had a great opportunity to review these maps. It's been slow. And then they also removed the medical center. And what is so heartbreaking specifically about them removing the medical center from this district is that one of the three ARPA-H facilities that was authorized under the previous administration, the state of Texas is the only one, the only Republican state to get one, and I got it to come to my district. We're talking about tons of jobs. We're talking about a lot of money overall for medical research, and they removed that.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett exposes the truth behind Texas's new redistricting map and how it silences minority communities across the state. In this episode, I break down her testimony, react from both left and right-wing patriotic perspectives, and explain why this fight is about more than politics. It's about the soul of democracy itself. Tax.
First of all, it is a sham that we sit here and y'all pretend as if you care about what the people have to say, but we are going to make y'all listen as long as you will. This map does nothing but divide, distract, and depress. There is this idea that was put out there during his opening remarks that this does so much for Black folk. Well, let me tell you, as a Black person, it does not. Let me tell you that in this map, to be clear, y'all added two additional Anglo majority seats. Now, when we went through the 21 maps, you added 2 Anglo majority seats, and now you're adding 2 more Anglo majority seats, and then you've decided that you are going to pack and crack, and that is the language that I am going to use because that is the legal language. And I also just want to remind y'all really quickly that it does not look good when you take every economic engine out of my district and then tell me that I am supposed to sit here and be so happy because you added Black folk from a whole other community. When you want to talk about monoliths and whether or not they exist, this idea that you just take people and move them around. I have 200,000 people who were never in my district, and my district is 766,000. Playing move minorities around so that you can somehow claim that this is nothing but partisanship. The only way that you get here is by making sure that you trample upon the rights and the liberties and the voices of minorities. So let me give you a few facts about the state of Texas. The state of Texas only has 39% Anglos, yet somehow under this map, we are going to have somewhere near 60-something, almost 70% of these seats are going to be chosen by Anglos. If we were looking for fairness and to follow the Voting Rights Act, you'd have 15 Latino opportunity seats, 15 Anglo seats. You then have 4 African-American opportunity seats. Then you'd have 2 Asian opportunity seats, and the other 2 seats would belong to coalitions because we are a majority-minority state where over 60% of this population is people of color. So if you want to do what's fair and right under the Voting Rights Act, as well as if you say that this Fifth Circuit Court case matters and somehow changes everything, my question to you is, when are y'all gonna do y'all's maps? Because you did your maps in 2021 and then the case came out, and I haven't seen y'all talk about the fact that you're gonna redistrict the House and the Senate.
Thank you for testimony. And you have questions? You okay? Representative Turner, recognize the question of the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have questions for Congresswoman Crockett.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. You mentioned in your testimony that this proposal, House Bill 4, removes economic engines from Congressional District 30.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yes. So Dallas Love Airport has historically been in District 30 maybe since it was created, which was also in 1990. It is gone now. All of downtown Dallas, which has AT&T headquarters, Goldman Sachs is there, and a number of others, entirety of downtown has been removed as well. As well as right there, this isn't necessarily one of the economic engines, but right there at the airport is a historic freedmen's town. And so I do have a number of freedmen's towns in general that are in my district. They removed that one that is right there by the airport, and they also removed, no, that's the only one that they removed. From what I can tell, I've not had a great opportunity to review these maps. It's been slow. And then they also removed the medical center. And what is so heartbreaking specifically about them removing the medical center from this district is that one of the three ARPA-H facilities that was authorized under the previous administration. The state of Texas is the only Republican state to get one, and I got it to come to my district. We're talking about tons of jobs. We're talking about a lot of money overall for medical research, and they removed that as well. As of now, I am unclear as to what economic engines really do still exist within the current iteration of my district.
And you're right. I know that Love Field, downtown, those have historically been parts of Congressional District 30, dating back to Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson's early years in Congress. Yes. So it is shocking to see them removed. You mentioned how the map brings you further into Tarrant County.
Yes.
And so you would represent a big chunk of Arlington under this proposal. But I noted in looking at the boundaries of the map in Arlington, it takes Congressional District 30 right up to the edge of UT Arlington.
Right.
But doesn't include UT Arlington.
Correct.
And it takes you right up to the edge of the General Motors plant, but does not include the General Motors plant.
Right.
So and it certainly doesn't include the entertainment district.
No.
And so those are three economic engines in Arlington, which you would represent a much larger portion of, but they would not be in your district either.
That is absolutely right. And it's interesting that you bring up the Tarrant County aspect. I do want to be clear, because we are talking about the Voting Rights Act. When we're talking about the Voting Rights Act, we're talking specifically about Section 2. Section 2 is about race. So we will continue to mention race because that is the law. Section 2 and the Voting Rights Act overall was codified to basically further explain the 15th Amendment of the Constitution, which again was about race. So that's why we're talking about it. So when you look at Dallas County and the way that they have sliced it up, Dallas County is one of the most diverse counties in the entire state of Texas. But unfortunately, what they've done is they've taken those minority communities and they've separated them out. They've either divided them into random districts that have nothing to do with the things that they need. They're not communities of common interest, or they've packed them into districts. And now they're claiming, oh, we created a new something for you, so be happy. And it's not true. So when it comes to Tarrant County, unfortunately, Congressional District 33 was pretty much anchored in Tarrant County. All of those historic Black areas, Stop 6 and others, they now are supposedly going to be represented by somebody who's probably never, ever going to walk those streets. I just want to be honest about that. And so the Tarrant County portion, in my opinion, it is being failed right now because what it should be is it should be either majority in Tarrant County or linked with other people in Tarrant County that are more communities of interest, or there should just be a wholly contained Tarrant County district, and they could absolutely do that, and they're choosing not to.
Absolutely. And in my view of the Tarrant County portion of the map is that, tell me if you agree with this, the minority voting strength in Tarrant County is greatly diminished through classic cracking in the case of CD 33 and packing in the case of CD 30.
Absolutely.
That fair to say?
That's absolutely. They used CD 30 to pack it up with minorities that they felt like maybe wouldn't go along with the white supremacist agenda, but yes.
And the previous comment, I think from the bill author, maybe in response
Been a question. I mean that's not even been the position of the state. I am engaged in litigation from the 2021 maps where they used CD30 in a similar way. And actually at the time that the 2021 maps, well, as we were working on the maps and the numbers came out, CD30 had a naturally occurring population of 52% citizen voting age population being African American. This legislature in 21 decided to pull it down from being over 50%. And they were allowed to do so because federal law says that it's more so about.
I'm glad you're here because today we need to talk about something that strikes at the very core of American democracy, the right to fair representation. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Here on Think Big, we don't shy away from truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes those in power. I just watched this heated testimony from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in Texas, and honestly, it's one of the clearest examples of how gerrymandering is being used as a weapon against voters of color. She laid it out bluntly. The new Texas congressional map adds 2 more Anglo-majority seats, even though Anglos make up only 39% of the state's population. Yet, under this plan, nearly 70% of congressional districts will be controlled by white voters. Tell me how that represents democracy in a state where over 60% of people are minorities. Now, as a left-wing patriot, I find this both infuriating and heartbreaking because this isn't just about race, it's about power. And as a right-wing patriot looking at this through a legal lens, I have to admit, Crockett's argument stands on solid constitutional ground. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is explicit. Voting rights cannot be denied or diluted on the basis of race. This map doesn't just flirt with discrimination, it bulldozes through it. Crockett explained how the redrawn map stripped her district, District 30, of its major economic engines, Dallas Love Field Airport, downtown Dallas, and even the medical center she fought to bring to her community. These aren't just landmarks, they're lifelines. Removing them from a minority-led district weakens that community's influence and economic stability. That's not coincidence, that's strategy. And here's what's even more chilling. She and several other minority representatives were literally drawn out of their own districts. Their home addresses were confirmed and submitted, yet somehow, they all ended up outside the lines. How do you call that an accident? She also pointed out that in Tarrant County, historic Black neighborhoods like Stop 6 have been split up and pushed into districts that have little connection to their communities. That's called cracking, one of the oldest tricks in the gerrymandering book. And then there's packing, stuffing as many minority voters as possible into a single district to limit their influence elsewhere. Texas used both. Now, when she was challenged on the legal precedent, specifically the Petaway case, she stood her ground. And she's right too. That decision doesn't justify dismantling coalition districts that give minority voters a voice. Yet the state is twisting it to destroy those very protections. That's not interpretation, that's manipulation. I'll be honest, even from a right-wing patriotic perspective, where I respect states' rights and constitutional structure, this is indefensible. Because liberty isn't about maintaining power for one group, it's about ensuring that all citizens have an equal shot at representation. When the system is rigged to favor one demographic, even when demographics themselves have changed, that's not preserving tradition, that's betraying it. Crockett also made a powerful point about history. Republicans once proudly supported the Voting Rights Act. It was reauthorized by a Republican president, George W. Bush. But now, many of the same leaders refused to back the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which would restore protections gutted by the Supreme Court. If this were really about fairness and state integrity, they'd fix the system, not exploit it. This isn't just another partisan squabble, this is a defining moment. Texas has a long record of losing court battles over racially discriminatory maps, and it looks like we're heading right back down that same road. When a state that's majority-minority is still run by maps that silence its majority, you have to ask, who is the system really built for? As both a patriot and a believer in the Constitution, I'll say this. Defending democracy means defending every voice, not just the loudest or the most powerful. Texas deserves a map that reflects its people, not one that hides behind outdated racial lines and partisan gamesmanship. If you care about real democracy, if you care about fairness, then don't just watch, take action. Stay informed, stay loud, and never stop demanding accountability. This is Think Big. If you believe in truth, equality, and the fight for a democracy that works for all of us, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it. Because the more people know what's happening in Texas, the harder it becomes for injustice to hide.